Why Go to University by motivational. During the long months ahead, you might occasionally wonder, what am I doing here, taking university classes? On the face of it, the question makes sense. You may already be overburdened with responsibilities towards your job, family, and friends. You might wish to spend your leisure time relaxing instead of doing homework and reading speculations about the nature of the universe. Going to university might create additional stress in your life. You sometimes have to pay for your education and living expenses or to take loans which you will have to pay later. Moreover, in the time it takes to go to university, you could be working and earning money. It takes courage to have your papers compared, evaluated, and graded. Also, knowledge does not always bring greater happiness. In some ways, ignorance is indeed bliss. An oncologist, for example, is more likely to appreciate the true meaning of terminal lung cancer than a professional athlete. Finally, social illness, such as environmental degradation, materialistic value systems, and political indoctrination, are traceable in part to humankind's successive increments in its store of knowledge. These are excellent reasons to stay away from books and universities. Many more, I am sure, could be unearthed. On balance, however, most people feel that the case for self education, higher education, and cultural literacy is far stronger. They know what the advantages are, and this knowledge most likely fortifies their resolve to further their education, especially in the difficult first year of their university career. Still, at one point or another during the following months or years, you might need a bit more than mere intuition to keep you going. To meet this potential need, the following pages present a common sense and widely shared defense of university education. 1. The most obvious advantage concerns income and job opportunities. Statistically speaking, education and income levels are linked. The better educated you are, the higher your income tends to be. In assessing this link, we ought to keep in mind Benjamin Disraeli's aphorism about lies, damn lies, and statics. Native Americans may or may not be vanishing, but the Native American I talked to yesterday. Similarly, if I take a random sample of 1000 high school dropouts, 1000 high school graduates, and 1000 university graduates, I shall find rich and poor persons in all three groups, but the numbers will be different. To take a hypothetical example, the respective number of people under the poverty line in these three groups might be 200, 100, and 50. Education enhances opportunities for career advancement. Without a university degree, certain promotional opportunities are simply closed. Many of our students tell us that the primary reason they are here is this: to be promoted and thereby improve their income and social standing. They need a university degree. Societal benefits are no less striking. The chief wealth of a nation, some economists believe, is not its land, natural resources, or population. Switzerland is fairly poor in all three, yet it is one of the world's wealthiest nations. Brazil is rich in all three, but incomparably poorer. The German and Finnish experiences after World War II even raised the possibility that if placed on barren island and educated people could in 20 years create a more prosperous society than the one enjoyed now by Brazilians and Nepalese. To be sure, countries like Switzerland often enjoy more congenial climate than Nepal. They are freer and they enjoy greater political stabilities. These are the other characteristics contribute to their higher prosperity and quality of life. But it's greatly agreed that the higher educational levels prevailing in these prosperous nations contribute to their affluence. 2. Knowledge has other practical applications. If you are in Mexico wishing to immigrate, if you are in Mexico wishing to immigrate illegally to the US, the ability to read English and study maps minimizes contacts with quads and rat infested tunnels. If you know how to fix a motorcycle, you can save yourself piles of money on repairs. If you know how to calculate interest rates, you are in better position to start your own business or find errors in your monthly statement from the bank. If you know that all hair shampoos are made of the same few active ingredients, you are less likely to fall prey to the advertising shenanigans of the cosmetic industry. An educated person, an educated person is likely to resolve difficulties and conflicts in a rational manner. Imagine getting caught in an Imagine getting caught in an argument with your husband and feeling like throwing the dishes at him. Letting go of your emotions in such a situation may be detrimental to your marriage and aspirations for the happy future. Perhaps you need at the moment every bit of sanity and rationality you can summon. The acquired habit of reasoning, tolerance, humility, and reflection might serve you well in this and many other personal crises in your life. In more general terms, rational and scientific inquiries strive towards open mindedness, tolerance, skepticism, and a constructive process of learning from our mistakes. In their ideal form, they set before us a model of proper conduct. Some people feel that our failure applied to this model to politics and to our daily lives throws much light on our collective misbehavior. The danger of our days, one biochemist believes, is the politics has run away with the tools of science, leaving its way of thinking behind. The forces created by science can be handled only by mentality which created them. 3. One practical application deserves special mention here. According to the writer, regardless of the way health is measured and regardless of the unit of observation, years of schooling usually emerges as the most powerful correlate of good health. That is, though educated people are not necessarily healthy, they are more likely to enjoy good health than tycoons or athletes or petrol station attendants or any group of people. Insurance companies know this, of course, hence the comparatively low life insurance rates for teachers. For the time being, we can only conjecture about the causes of this surprising observation. An educated personal An educated person is more likely to have a better appreciation for hazards of smoking, overweight, lack of exercise, or stress. Her training makes it a bit more difficult for her to deny these problems' existence, It gives her the intellectual tools needed to prevent their occurrence, and it provides her a clear rationale for reducing their severity or eliminating them. Education provides greater social mobility and freedom. An educated person finding herself daily exposed to occupational hazard is less likely to explain them away or remain on the job for very long. All other things being equal, an educated person is more likely to lead a meaningful life, feel better about herself, and be less vulnerable to stress related diseases. Consider some statistics. 1 out of 5 operations in the United States may be unnecessary. 13 out of 1000 operations end in death. Let us assume that the situation in Nepal is similar. In that case, owing to human fallibility, ignorance, or greed, you may face at some future date the grave risks of needlessly being caught up on the operating table. The rest is simple. Ask yourself, wouldn't education in general and familiarity with the medical profession and human health in particular enhance the chances that you and your loved ones escape this fate? Isn't lack of education a key contributor to such depressing statistics? Physical exercise. It is universally agreed is beneficial to health, physical, mental, and emotional well being. A sound mind in a sound body, we say. Almost certainly, the same logic applies to your brain. You keep it exercised and it stays in shape. You use it only a little and it atrophies more quickly. You take care of your bicycle by lubricating it and adjusting its brakes. You take care of your body by exercising. Shouldn't you exercise the most distinctly human portion of your body, the seat of your thoughts and emotions, and the one organ that most clearly separates you from bats and monkeys? 5. Opinion polls repeatedly show that our culture values learned men and women. This high regard for knowledgeable people seems to be almost universal. It is not only Nepalese, Russians, Japanese, or Frenchmen that value the learned among them. Stone Age people show the same respect toward their learned shamans and medicine men. In most cultures, then, a man might be handsome, kind, physically fit, or a valiant warrior, but if he is comparatively uneducated, he would be considered sane, in some ways deficient. This lack of education may not only damage his social standing, but his standing in his own eyes. In other words, although I am not familiar with any concrete research on the subject, one accepts to find a positive correlation between education and self confidence. Again, the link, if it exists, is only statistical in nature. Some uneducated people are extremely self confident, some PhDs are horribly insecure. But it seems probable that all other things being equal, the better educated a person is, the better he feels about himself. 6. One of the most outstanding and lovable characteristics of children is, why is the sky blue? Our toddler asks. Why is 2 plus 5 equals to 7? What's under the living room carpet? Animals often seem to be curious about the world around them. Take a dog to the woods and watch his behavior, or watch a kitten's endless games with a piece of string. Sadly, many of us lose some of this curiosity when we come of age. Some psychologists trace this loss to our inadequate educational systems. Others ascribe it to our innate nature. Nevertheless, the remarkable fact is that this loss of interest is not universal. We all know some adults who are as curious about things as any 5 years old is. Moreover, this curiosity, this love of knowledge for its own sake seems to be influenced by culture. Greek intellectuals were obsessed with and satirical love for knowing. Philosophy, a Greek word, means love of wisdom. Learning the ancient Hebrews similarly felt constitutes its own reward. Hence, some of the great scholars went by such names as John the Shoemaker. This disinterested love of knowledge and the reluctant to turn knowledge into a shovel for digging gold continues to this very day. Among the scientists and scholars of the last few centuries, one finds a lens maker, a pharmacist, a nobleman's secretary, and an abbot of a Blackwood's monastery. For a great number of individuals and cultures, then knowledge is its own reward. In many cultures, this aspect of learning is often ignored. Some even say that it is stifled and suppressed. Nevertheless, learning is the most intermediate and obvious reward of either self education or going to university. The decision whether to derive joy from your school work, despite the occasional drudgery, taking tests, late hours, or a 70-hour work week is entirely yours. If you are not there already, we invite you to turn over a new leaf, discard any negative attitudes about the learning process you might have acquired before coming here, and give learning and yourself a chance. 7. Going to university expands your horizons. You meet new people, make new friends, share new experiences. Unlike our ancestors of thousands of years ago, we do not live in a closed tribal society. We see more people every day, but have fewer close friends. We go to bars or parties and sometimes are lucky enough to find what we are looking for. A university provides an alternative settling. A university provides an alternative setting for satisfying our needs for companionship, personal growth, and friendship. 8. Education increases our personal freedom. Some of our beliefs and habits are not truly our own. Often, our innermost thoughts and desires are products of indoctrination. What we call our religion is usually little more than a direct consequence of our accidental birth in a given social context. Most ancient Greeks believed in Zeus and Apollo. Many contemporary Americans believed in the teaching and divinity of Christ. Education makes us less dogmatic about our own beliefs and more tolerant about the beliefs of others. It shatters some of the invisible prisons or walls of our minds. It doesn't altogether removes us from Plato's cave of shadows, but it does unquestionably carry us a small step away from the realm of indoctrination and false gratitude. 9. Though we know only little about the universe, this knowledge is still worth having. This knowledge suggests, for example, that all humans are members of the same species and that They are the close relatives of all other life forms of this planet. It tells us that complex entities like the biosphere, the human mind, and the world economies are both fragile and resilient, and that the consequences of tampering with them are not wholly predictable. It suggests that we are not as rational and unique as we once thought we are, that we are neither at the center of the biosphere nor at the center of universe. It warns us that extinction of any species, including our own, is distinctly possible. It reminds us that prosperous civilizations can progress and that they can sink into a 1,000 year long dark age. 9. The last benefit of education concerns the close links between education and democracy. Ancient Greece bequeathed to us traditions of mathematical, scientific, and historical inquiries. But this assertion, as stated, is not entirely correct. Virtually nothing has been bequeathed by the likes of Totarian Sparta. Decisive intellectual contributions were made by ancient Greek democracies or by places like Ptolemaic Kingdom, where freedom of inquiry was taken for granted. Similarly, excellent scholarship can be found nowadays practically everywhere, but is most often common in the established democracies of North America and Northwestern Europe. Democracy, observably, is the most fertile ground upon which the culture flourishes. But this relationship between education and democracy is two-way street. To flourish, democracy requires an educated citizenry. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free, says Thomas Jefferson, it expects what never was and never will be. In his defense of Athenian democracy, Pericles says that while not all of us can originate policy, all of us are able to judge it. For the wonderful political system we call democracy to work, we must be able to judge our policy markers and their policies. We must know something about such issues as Kathmandu smog, income distribution, deforestation, or Indian foreign policies. If democracy is to work, if we wish not to fall victims to propaganda left and right, if we wish to vote for our disinterest and convictions, we must educate ourselves about the main issues of our time. We must, in other words, go to university or or assimilate many books. Albert Einstein puts it this way: democracy, taken in its narrower sense, suffer from the fact that those in modern economic and political power possess the means for modeling public opinion to serve their own class interest. The democratic form of government in itself does not automatically solve problems. It offers, however, a useful framework for their solution. Everything depends ultimately on the political and moral qualities of the citizenry. This certainly is an idea worth pondering upon. The future of Nepal and the future of humanity depend upon our ability to bring greater awareness, enlightenment, and rationality to politics. This ability presupposes an educated citizenry. In this broad context, therefore, you might wish to view your sojourn in academia as a modest personal contribution to humankind's future. Thank you.